Howdy y'all. I know I say it all the time that I got something different today, but this something is very different. And this is not anything related to, well, indirectly it is, but not like my normal content. Not like the tractors, not like the shop, not like the mechanic stuff. So if you're into that, that's fine. This is a dark subject. I'm going to talk about child loss and the loss of the child, more specifically the loss of my only child. So I totally understand if you don't want to hang out here. Go check out some of the other content, but this is for those folks that are on the same path as me, that have been on the same path of me, and I just wanted to kind of give a follow-up update because about a year ago, I started this channel, and I didn't know what to do. I knew I wanted to do YouTube. I knew I wanted to do YouTube because my son always wanted to do YouTube. I didn't know what to do. So I started talking about grief and child loss and the loss of my son, my only child. It was a year after his loss. It was after I got back from my deployment to Antarctica, the last one. And I decided that I needed to switch gears. Antarctica wasn't for me anymore. After that loss, things changed. Things changed with me. So I started documenting my grief process during that second year, which from a lot of grieving parents I've learned is the hardest year. And for me, it absolutely was. And probably for my wife as well. She went to Antarctica with me this last deployment, so it was good to have her along. It's just not something that's in the cards for me anymore. What really pivoted the channel, what changed it, what made it what it is today, probably was the day that my wife found a 4G D4 only a few miles away from my house, and I was bound and determined to get it. My grandfather and I had been looking for one for years, and at that moment I knew the direction that I wanted to take the channel. It's something that I've always loved, that I've always been passionate about. I've been running heavy equipment my whole life. Everything I've done has involved heavy equipment, and it's just a passion of mine. It's a passion with my family. I'm actually a third generation heavy equipment operator, so it's something that I loved, and we are heavy equipment operators pretending to be mechanics. And I made a little checklist here. I'm going to go down the checklist and just share them with everybody. I felt I owed an update to a lot of folks that have been hanging on from the very beginning. And this channel has some wonderful, wonderful friends of the channel, supportive people, support for the channel, and it's much appreciated. But there's some folks that were following me along in the grieving process, and I'd like to reach out to them and tell them where I'm at in the grieving process. I am definitely in a lot better place than I was a year ago, but I thought that it was super important to document everything so that people could understand and really maybe even relate. And the dogs are playing, so if you hear them in the background, that's all that is. The channel has definitely morphed into what it is. From starting as a channel that talks about the loss of a child and grief, and I really just wanted to document my journey through that grief process. And yes, there's some very, very dark times. I went through some very, very dark times. I have a loving family, a loving wife. I've had a lot of support, and I've had a lot of support on YouTube. And yes, it was a huge leap of faith to put that out there on YouTube. There's a lot of not so friendly people, and I understand that, and I understood that when I did it, but I thought it was important enough to share it with so many other people that maybe have went through or going through the process. I'm not fresh to it now, but it is a pain that any grieving parent will tell you never ever goes away. It is not like something you recover from in other losses, and I have that basis for comparison. And it's a shame that I do have that, but I can tell you this is not something that you get over. I think you just learn to live with it. Most of the content I have on YouTube is monetized, but I have not monetized any of the child loss or grief, and I do not intend to and never will. I think that this is important enough that I want to have other people that can see it, that can maybe relate, that they can understand that what they're going through is not unusual, that maybe it is normal, those feelings are normal, and I thought it was important enough. So no, this is not monetized. The rest of the channel is, and yes, I'm trying to make a living at it, No, I'm not doing well, but it has been a very, very therapeutic thing for me all the way from the get-go. And my relationship with my father is actually stronger and going perfectly well. So it's been a wonderful thing. YouTube has been a blessing for me. Some of you might be wondering about my wife. We have very, very different paths in this grieving process. I have to be open and talk about it, and unfortunately, she can't. And I understand that, and I respect that. So this is my path, this is my therapy, and I'm leaving her space for hers, and we are doing great. We have a great relationship, always have, going on 26 years. If you haven't seen some of my older content about child loss, it's very dark. I understand that it's very dark content. It touches on some things that are very hurtful, that were very painful for me, but I just thought was very important for other grieving parents or other folks going through the grieving process, just to see that they can relate to and maybe at least identify with the journey and see in themselves that what they're going through is not unusual or not abnormal, and it's all part of it. But it also documented my transition from that dark point up until the light point, and the good things I found in my life, the little puppy dogs, my awesome family, my beautiful wife, and the fantastic people on YouTube. This is not something that I'm ever going to get over with, and I don't think it's something that anybody ever gets over with. So it's going to be there. I may or may not do these updates in the future, but I feel like I have a nice bank here that documents the process for others to see, and I'm going to leave it up. So for a while I was embarrassed about the child loss part of this channel, and talking about grief and talking about the process, and embarrassed about some of the videos that I had, and I made them private for a long time, but I've recently made them all public again. Like I said, I think it's important to share my journey with others so that others maybe can relate with the unfortunate events that maybe they have occurred in their lives. My wife and I talk about our journey, and we ask each other, maybe, are you happy, or how are you doing? We always feel like we have to preface this. Are you happy? Are you as happy as you can be given our circumstances, given that we've lost our child? But as far as this goes, I really think the YouTube channel in general has made me a lot happier, has made my wife a lot happier, and it's given me a purpose, because this is something that my son wanted to build, and I feel like I'm doing it for my son. So I'm not giving up on it, not yet, and I got a long ways to go, and it's going to be a rough journey for a while, not having the dual income, but I have a loving wife that's supporting me right now, and I greatly appreciate it. And not only has my wife supported me, I've been blessed to have some great viewers that are supporting as well, and it's greatly appreciated, and I thank you for your views, your dedication, your likes, your subscribes. I've mentioned the support groups. Two of those that have been very instrumental are Alive Alone. It's for folks that have lost an only child or all of their children. That's been a very instrumental group that I've met. And I have the Compassionate Friends, which has a subcategory for loss of an only child or all your children, and that has been a very instrumental group. Plans for the channel. Well, my plans for the channel are going to be status quo. I'm going to keep forging ahead and giving that tractor and farm and country life and mechanical related content. And that's going to include, of course, finishing 4G. We have to finish 4G. Maybe 5T, the Chevrolet farm truck. I've got the cranes. I've got a whole bunch of good content to come up. And I like going and visiting the shows, so there'll be some of that in the future too. So I'm loving where the channel has ended up and what it's become. And I'm not embarrassed at all about the roots. I'm very much enjoying the channel. And that's why I'm continuing. And I have not changed the channel name. I've just made it an acronym for the original name. To remain loyal to its roots, because really that's why I'm doing this whole thing, is for my son and to document child loss for others so that they can see the journey that may lay ahead of them or may not. But I thought it was important to keep those roots, but I am going to continue on the path that we are going, It has really turned into something that I have grown to love. I know my dad has grown to love it as well. I will definitely be keeping all of my documentation of my challenges through the second year of child loss. The first year, I was just way too numb to even comprehend it. Going back to Antarctica, going through the COVID, the quarantines for months at a time, it was just too much to muster. At least I had my wife with me. Do I regret it? No. I love the Antarctic program. I'll always love the Antarctic program. Will I go back? Probably not. It does hold a soft spot in my heart, and I've spent a lot of time on the ice, and I really appreciate my experience there. And I have to talk about my dad because a lot of people mention him in the comments on most of my videos, but I did want to say that Dad loves the role as the cleaner. He loves the nickname, and his cleaning goes way beyond the videos. That's been a lifelong thing for him. He's had an obsession with cleanliness. And we had the cleanest trucks and backhoes and loaders and equipment on any job site. And that's just the way that Dad is. So the cleaner nickname fits perfectly as well because he is the guy that can also clean up and fix problems too. So there's a little bit of a double meaning there for the nickname cleaner. And he does enjoy being the street man and the impromptu comedy routine on the channel. And it is kind of fun. It's very organic. It's just something that has grown. And I'm glad that we can create this clean content. There seems to be lacking in a lot of areas in life. And I really appreciate that those of you appreciate it, that you come back, that you view it, that you subscribe. And it means the world to us, both of us. So that's our journey going forward. We're going to continue. Before I sign off, I do want to say once again, thank you all for the support. It's been instrumental, and I'm very proud of the channel. I'm proud of the people that view the channel and the support, the comments, and the kind things that people say. Like I said, putting myself out there, very vulnerable. Maybe wasn't the wisest decision, but in the long run, it has been fantastic therapy for me. So I am very grateful for all of the support from all over the world and my incredible family. And I do want to thank you for watching this. It's a beautiful, cool, calm day out here, and I'm loving it. I love the front porch. I always did. And as always, I got puppies with me out here, so they're milling around. And Miss Z's over here. What do you got, a leaf? What are you doing? Come here, Z. Get that out of your mouth, goofball. And it wouldn't be complete without Mr. Buddy up here on my lap.